The battle against the Demon Lord wages on as humanity's finest warriors make their last stand against this evil warlord. This battle would have been completely one-sided, and the Demon Lord would have won without even a competition if the goddess hadn't sent her chosen hero to fight for mankind. Now this divine warrior named Noel is not only fighting but winning against the evil monarch as the war reaches an epic ending. He asks his companions to teleport out of there since he can't really guarantee their safety while he takes on this mighty enemy. Of course, his comrades are really hesitant to leave him behind, but they understand why he needs them to get away from this place. Noel needs to be absolutely laser-focused if he wants to win this fight, and he simply can't do that unless he is certain that his dear companions are out of harm's way. As these fine warriors teleport out from the Demon Lord's castle, our hero says one last prayer to the goddess before running straight at his enemy. However, as soon as he lands a fatal blow on the Demon Lord, the very castle around him begins to warp, and it's not long before the entire thing comes crashing down on our hero's head. Noel passes out soon after this, and when he wakes up he finds himself surrounded by complete darkness. He immediately uses a spell to create strong light in his vicinity, and he is surprised to find a skeleton lying next to him. He's a little creeped out, so he uses teleportation to get out from that dark place. Once outside, he quickly figures out that he was buried under the castle, which is now nothing more than a huge mound of rubble. Apparently, the Demon Lord was maintaining the integrity of his home with magic, so once he died, the entire place came crashing down. While thinking about this strange situation, Noel remembers that he has completed his divine mission by eliminating the Demon Lord, and he thanks the goddess for giving him the power to fulfill his destiny. As soon as those words leave his mouth, he gets surrounded by a magical aura, and in only a few moments he finds himself staring at the goddess, who greets him with a smile on her face. She says that her powers don't really work inside the demon territory, so she had no way of knowing what really happened to him in the aftermath of his battle against the Demon Lord. After making sure that our boy doesn't have brain damage, the goddess hits him with a very concerning piece of information. According to her, Noel has been unconscious for at least half a year, and no one really knew where he even was. Our protagonist, of course, is finding it hard to believe that he has been sleeping for 6 months. He immediately asks the deity about his comrades because he doesn't know if they are even alive or not. He's really relieved when the goddess tells him that all of his companions are safe. However, she has this rather sad look on her face as she says this. The divine being then goes on to explain that in his absence, Noel really has lost his very identity. The kingdom of Lavania, which happens to be our protagonist's home, has decided to lie about the identity of the hero who really took down the Demon Lord. In fact, in the last 6 months, they have really used propaganda to make people believe that it was actually Prince Cain who won the war against the Demon Lord. Noel is shocked by this information, especially because he doesn't understand why his companions would even allow the Lavanian government to tell such a blatant lie. He soon gets his answer, however, when the goddess explains that his companions received a very special and strict imperial order which forced them to stay quiet about the identity of the hero, and for their silence, they were compensated handsomely. For instance, the sorceress in Noel's party ended up becoming the court magician, while the holy knight received even crazier rewards. The kingdom made him a successor to the army chief and gave him a beautiful mansion, but hilariously, these rewards were apparently not enough, and the guy even received his own harem for staying quiet about the whole thing. However, these rewards pale in comparison to what the Saint Stella received. Noel is shocked when he learns that his childhood friend got engaged to the prince soon after the war ended. He has known that girl all his life, and he just can't believe why she would choose a guy like Cain. But then again, a lot of strange things have happened in his absence, so our protagonist decides to not dwell on it. However, he still wants to know why the Lavanian authorities had to replace him in the first place. This is when the goddess explains that the king of Lavania was scared after Noel went missing. The king told the goddess that his kingdom simply couldn't afford the loss of its divine protector. The people of Lavania would have lost all confidence if they found out that their savior was gone, so the country needed to keep the hero alive, and they decided to replace him to achieve this goal. After hearing all of this, our protagonist begins to understand why the king of Lavania would want to lie about his identity. He even agrees with this decision because he too believes that you can do anything you want as long as the purpose of your actions is to help the people. However, he thinks that since he is alive, he can just go back to his country and regain his lost position. At this moment, the goddess hits him with some more harsh facts. She tells our boy that no one in Lavania really knew about the true identity of the hero before the death of the Demon Lord. She says that the kingdom decided to hide the hero's identity in order to protect his friends and family from any kind of retribution. This means that even if Noel goes back home, he won't be able to reclaim his title. The goddess is truly sad about the whole situation, and she is also a little concerned because the king of Lavania is a very cunning man. She has been aware of his insatiable thirst for power for a long time now. She still remembers how happy he became once he found out that the divine hero had come from his country. He even had a lot of nice words to say about Noel as he sent our boy off to fight the demon lord. That's probably why our protagonist feels so dejected after learning that no one is going to recognize him for all he has done over the years. However, the goddess still knows who he is, and it's clear that she feels grateful to him for saving so many lives. She puts her hand on his head and asks him what he plans to do from now on. Noel is not sure how to answer this question, but he says that right now he just wants to live a peaceful life since he hasn't really had a chance to do that for a long time now. With this goal in mind, he sets off towards his hometown, and after a few days, he finds himself sitting in a small restaurant and enjoying a delicious meal. This is when he learns that Stella is apparently pregnant, and the entire kingdom is celebrating this news. The country has seen too much death over the years, so they are eager to celebrate such good news. Noel understands their emotions because he also feels happy for his childhood friend, but unfortunately he has no way of congratulating her. Later that day, our boy is traveling through the nearby woods when he suddenly notices a huge explosion in the distance. He, of course, wants to know what exactly happened, so he runs toward the place of carnage, and eventually, he finds himself looking at a hydra which is terrorizing a young girl who seems to be fighting a losing battle. She is at her limit, and the four-headed monster is about to burn her alive when suddenly Noel grabs her and gets her out of danger. He then proceeds to cut down the hydra's heads one by one before the monster eventually perishes. This display of god-tier swordsmanship really impresses the demon girl, who can't believe that a random dude just took down a hydra all by himself. While she is busy thanking him, Noel notices that she is wearing a slave collar. When he asks her about it, she says that she is a battle slave, and she was ordered by her master to complete a specific mission. The collar was placed around her by the same master who wanted to make sure she didn't run away or disobey his orders. She looks genuinely disturbed as she talks about it, but her sad expression turns into one of surprise when our protagonist just destroys that collar with his cancel magic. As far as she knows, it would be impossible to remove that magic equipment, but somehow Noel managed to do it without even trying too hard. While she is staring at the destroyed collar, our hero notices strange symbols on her back and realizes that she also has a slave crest on her body. She's not going to be free as long as she has those marks on her, so our protagonist offers to remove the crest as well. Once again, the girl is surprised because apparently not even the entire magical community can remove that crest from her body. But once again, it vanishes the moment Noel uses his cancel magic on it. As soon as the crest is gone, the girl begins to realize that she is finally free. Tears start rolling down her cheeks as she sits on the ground and thanks the hero for releasing her from her shackles. When our boy introduces himself, she goes on to say that her name is Sarah, and she is really happy to learn that our protagonist is going in the same direction as her. So Noel gives her some of his clothes, and the two of them start making their way towards his hometown. He tells the girl that he will buy her new clothes once they reach his village, but this is when the girl gives him some bad news. She explains that Noel's village has been abandoned for a while now because it was attacked by a group of demons. After the attack, the people left and the officials sealed off the entire settlement to make sure no one accidentally stumbles into any of these shabby buildings. The hero is processing all of this information as he comes across his home. Sure enough, it looks abandoned and in a really bad state, but he says that they can stay here once he tidies it up a little. Sarah doesn't know what he means, but her confusion is gone when suddenly Noel uses two different spells to rebuild his home in a matter of seconds. He then asks his guest to come inside and tells her that he would like to know about her secret mission. As soon as he makes this request, the girl becomes a little nervous, and her expressions tell our boy that she is not happy about divulging this information. He tells her that she doesn't have to fear anything, and this is when the girl explains why she was sent to this desolate place. She says that she was ordered by the king himself to wipe out every proof of Noel's existence from this village. Of course, our protagonist is speechless after hearing this, and he wants to know who exactly this girl's master is. She once again looks afraid as she shares that the man who has been using her as his toy is a distinguished warrior who can use demon subjugation. This is a high-ranked skill, and Noel knows that only a few people can use it. That's why he isn't surprised when the girl explains that her master is none other than the holy knight Gudal, who used to fight alongside the hero himself. Of course, the girl also believes that Cain is the divine hero, and she says that he is a very unpleasant man as well. While she is wondering why the divine hero is a jerk, Noel reveals to her that he is the actual hero who defeated the demon lord, and the prince is nothing more than a puppet. Now this would have been a crazy claim in any other situation, but Sarah has already seen how strong our protagonist is, so it doesn't take her too long to believe his story. The two of them are talking about this when suddenly her stomach starts rumbling, and Noel remembers that he hasn't actually given his guest any food so far, so to act like a gracious host, he decides to cook something for the two of them. However, there is one problem. The water simply isn't coming out of the well, and without it, they can't really make any food. Now, the hero understands that this magical well simply can't dry up, so there has to be another reason for this strange occurrence. To get to the bottom of this mystery, the two of them go outside to the village square, and this is where they come across a well that's been covered by demonic seals. These are magical talismans, and they're extremely strong and can even bind a spirit or a god to a particular place. Usually only demons can take them off, but once again, it's not a problem for Noel, who just peels them off as if he's unwrapping a Christmas gift. As soon as he removes the last talisman, a goddess comes rushing out of the well. She immediately thanks the hero for releasing her from this confinement, and this surprises Noel. He's happy to know that at least this divine being remembers who he is, and she says that only the hero can remove those seals without getting hurt. She also makes it clear that even though she was trapped, she isn't unaware of what's happening in the world because she is the Earth Goddess. Sarah says that it's hard to believe a small girl like her can be the Earth Goddess, and this remark doesn't sit well with the divine being. She also gets extra aggressive once she notices that the hero is hanging out with a demon girl. Noel, however, tells her to calm down because this demon is not a bad one. The Earth Goddess doesn't want to cause a scene in front of him, so she just introduces herself as Aqua and claims to be the friendly neighborhood goddess who takes care of this place. Our boy and his companion also introduce themselves, and they are happy to learn that the goddess is pretty hungry as well. Noel says that he can cook something as long as the goddess can provide them some water, and of course it's not a problem for her. After a while, the hero serves them some piping hot food, and Sarah is over the moon as soon as she takes the first bite. The goddess can't believe that a meal made from wild herbs can be delicious, but she also has tears in her eyes as she tries the food for the first time. The girls simply can't believe that you can make wild weeds taste so delicious, but the hero tells them that it's not hard as long as you know how to cook. While the girls are busy munching on their food, our boy keeps thinking about the abandoned village. He says that he still can't believe how this place became a ghost town. Aqua says that even though she is happy that the villagers found a new place to live, she still wants them to come back because she will be lonely here without them. Clearly she is feeling a little down, but her mood gets better when Noel promises to not only stay in this place, but to also make it as livable as it used to be. The goddess, of course, can't believe that a divine hero would stay in a small village like this one, but as soon as she looks into his eyes, she realizes that he really means to stay. He looks excited and claims that he would work day and night to make this place great again. Sarah also promises to help him in this quest, and Aqua says they can count on her as well. As you can expect, she soon proves to be a huge help as she uses her divine magic to turn this dry land into a place that's full of vegetables and other edible plants. Her magic is so strong that the plants begin to sprout instantly, and she looks rather proud of these results. After she is done singing her own praises, she tells our protagonist that other divine spirits have also agreed to help her because they all want to aid the hero. Noel says he's not the hero anymore, but according to Aqua, it doesn't really matter to all the gods and spirits who are still on his side. With such support behind him, it's not going to be hard for our boy to turn this desolate and grim place into a lively and thriving village. The next morning, Aqua asks the hero to go to the nearby woods since she feels as if he'll find something useful there. Noel doesn't know what he's looking for, but that's when he comes across a goat, and just like that, they find a way to get milk every day. He's thinking how useful it is to have a goddess helping you when he comes across a girl in the middle of the woods. She looks unconscious and doesn't wake up even after the hero uses healing magic on her. She doesn't look harmed, but our boy can't leave her in a dangerous forest like this. So he picks her up and brings her back to his home, and after a while, she wakes up with a dazed look on her face. She introduces herself as Sanya and explains how she got into the strange situation. She says that she was just resting in a villa nearby when she was enchanted by some little creatures who brought her into the woods where she tripped and passed out. She hadn't eaten in a while, so she became really weak and couldn't really help herself. After hearing this, Noel decides to cook her something as well, and to his surprise, the well in his home is working again. It's clear that the entire landscape is functioning normally now that the Earth Goddess is free. For the rest of the day, Sanya helps Aqua milk the goat, while the hero and Sarah keep their eyes on her. Noel is quick to notice that his companion is distressed, and he asks her about it. She says that if she doesn't go back to Gudal, he will send more people after her, and that might disturb their peaceful lives. She's thinking about going back when our protagonist tells her to not worry about it since he'll deal with anyone who comes after them. Later on, all of them are enjoying some fresh milk when the goddess asks their newest guest if she is feeling okay now. She says that her body is fine, but her head is not in a great place. Aqua, of course, is quick to inquire about it, and this is when she learns that Sonia was recently dumped by her fiancé, and she had to leave the capital because rumors began circling about it. She's clearly heartbroken, but her new friends are quick to tell her that it's the guy's loss because she is a great girl. The goddess asks her why people are talking about her breakup, and this is when Sonia explains that her fiancé is a really popular person. Of course, everyone is eager to know his name, and to their surprise, she was engaged to none other than Prince Cain, who is now being hailed as the hero. While everyone is busy trying to cheer her up, Noel says that he can't believe the odds of running into a girl who used to be engaged to the fake hero. Sonia doesn't understand what he means by the fake hero, and this is when Aqua and Sarah tell her what exactly happened and how the kingdom created a fake hero to replace our boy. Noel doesn't really expect her to believe this story, but to his surprise, Sonia actually believes every word they're saying. She's also mesmerized by the beauty and peaceful vibe of this place, and she wants to stay here. She says that only a real hero can be humble enough to not chase fame and instead go back home to live a simple life, and she would love to live alongside him. Noel can't stop her from staying in the village, but he is afraid that her family would be worried because of her disappearance. This is when Sonia assures him that she will ask her parents for their permission to stay here, and with this, everyone welcomes her to this thriving community. A couple of days later, Sarah is showing off her new dress, which was made for her by their newest friend, who is happy to make clothes for everyone. Noel is really impressed by the quality of the dress, and he can't believe that Sonia has such insane skills. This makes her smile, and she explains that as a noble lady, she was kind of forced to learn embroidery and sewing, but she's happy that she could use those skills to make something for her friends. She genuinely looks happy, and this in turn makes the hero feel great because he doesn't really want her to feel any more heartbreak or worry about anything as long as she stays with them. As more and more days go by, all of these people are getting used to staying together, and they are beginning to enjoy their new lives. One afternoon, a man in expensive armor shows up on the outskirts of the village and notices a man in the fields. The warrior doesn't understand how this desolate village looks so good, and he wants some answers, but to his surprise, the man plowing the fields is none other than his old acquaintance Noel, who also knows this guy. His name is Gurzas, and he works for the crown. Apparently, he has been sent to this village to look for Sonia, who happens to be the daughter of General Gusher, who happens to be the leader of the army. The hero takes the guy to his home, where he finally lays eyes upon the girl he's been looking for all this time. Gurzas asks her to come back to the villa with him since her family has been desperately searching for her. However, Sonia makes it quite clear that she doesn't want to go back, and instead she plans on staying in this small village and helping the hero. This puts the warrior in a rather tricky situation, and he asks Noel to talk some sense into his new guest, but our protagonist makes it clear that he will let Sonia stay as long as she gets permission from her family. While they are discussing this, Sarah comes back to the house after a successful hunting trip, and as soon as Gurzas lays eyes on her, his entire demeanor changes. He asks the hero to take a walk with him, and while the two of them are in the woods, he explains that he really is worried about Sonia's safety, so he is hoping to take her back home. However, there is an even more pressing matter that he has to deal with, and it concerns our boy who used to go out on adventures with Gurzas. And now he finds himself staring at his old friend who is holding a sword and telling him that he knows about Sarah's identity, and he wants to know why a battle slave is living with our protagonist instead of completing her mission. Noel is asking him to calm down because he doesn't know all the details. He then proceeds to tell his friend that the demon girl was given a meaningless mission, and she was also being treated poorly by her master, so he has decided to protect her. Even though Gurzas agrees with our boy's decision, he reminds Noel that you don't want to mess with a strong warrior like Gudal, who might just become the leader of the entire army. The hero, however, once again makes it clear that he doesn't care who comes after his friend, he will protect her no matter what. He also decides to reveal his secret and explains that he is the one who actually took down the Demon Lord. Of course, it's very hard for Gurzas to believe this, but even he can't doubt Noel's strength after learning that our boy removed the slave collar from Sarah's neck without any problem. You will need an insane amount of strength and magical proficiency to perform such a task, so clearly our protagonist is not an ordinary person. But that only raises another question, and Gurzas is quick to ask it. He wants to know why the real hero isn't trying to get back his titles and instead spends his days in the middle of nowhere. This is when Noel decides to tell his entire story to his friend, and he also shares the nature of Sarah's mission, which enrages Gurzas, who can't believe that the royal family is trying to erase the very existence of this place to cover their tracks. While he is seething with rage, his friend asks him for a favor, and the warrior is more than happy to oblige. A couple of days later, he leaves the village with Sonia as she goes home to get permission from her family. However, Gersas has an even more important mission right now, and he goes straight to Godal's home to tell him that Sarah died in the woods after she was attacked by a hydra. He also presents the broken collar to back his claims, and the Holy Knight is annoyed by this news. Still, he is happy that Noel's hometown is surrounded by a hydra because it will stop people from going near that place and learning about the hero's true identity. While the maniac is busy drinking and enjoying the luxuries, the hero tells Sarah that he has used Gersas to give false information to her master. Now, Godal believes that she is dead, and he won't really be coming after her, which means she can stay here without a care in the world. The three of them continue to make the village more livable, and one day they are trying their best to fix an oven when they hear a familiar voice. Noel turns around to find Gersas, who has returned to the village with Sanya. The hero welcomes them with a smile on his face and thanks his friend for giving all that false information to Godal. The warrior says he is happy to help the real hero, and he also provides our boy with some more useful information. According to him, Aina, who used to be the main magician in Noel's party, has now become a recluse who doesn't leave her home even though she has been appointed the court magician. This is rather surprising news for our protagonist because his companion used to be rather proud and full of life when she was in his party, and clearly something has happened in the last few months that has put her in a dark place. The hero is trying to figure out what might have happened to his comrade when she walks into the house with Sanya and immediately goes up to him to apologize. All this time, she believed that he was dead and she cursed herself for betraying his legacy. While Noel is telling her to stop apologizing, she explains that she was forced by the king and the royal family to accept Cain as the real hero. The tears in her eyes make it clear that she feels bad about everything she did, but Aqua doesn't believe her. Our protagonist, however, is willing to forgive her because he's just glad to see an old friend. He also says that Aina deserves a lot of respect for all that she did during the war against the Demon Lord, so he tells her to hold her head high and talk to him like they used to. He wants to know what happened to her and why she has become a mumbling mess. This is when the young sorceress opens up to her friend and says that she has been having a hard time adapting to the life of a civilian magician. All her life, she has been training for battle magic, but now her skills are almost useless because a court magician only uses magic for day-to-day tasks. This new lifestyle just isn't for her, and that's why she's become a recluse. However, right now she doesn't really want Noel to think about her because he has to address a more pressing issue. She explains that the king had been planning to replace our boy since the day he began his campaign. She learned about this through a highly confidential document, according to which the king had been planning to assassinate the hero as soon as the Demon Lord was taken out. However, our boy disappeared during the battle, so the king didn't have to use poison to eliminate him. According to Aina, our boy made a really smart decision by not going to the capital because there are still many people who would go after him once they realize that he is still alive. The hero thanks her for all this information and then takes her outside to show her what kind of damage has been done to his hometown. He says that she can make up for her poor choices by fixing these houses, and he will even teach her the reform magic if she's willing to learn. This, of course, brings a smile to her face, and she agrees to live with our boy and learn from him. However, right now, they can't really worry about fixing homes because they have to focus their attention on the oven, or they won't get any bread. Luckily, with Aina's help, Noel manages to fix the broken oven without too much problem, and that afternoon they get to eat some delicious cookies as a reward for their efforts. They're all looking for a quiet life in their own way, but it seems like this village can never really stay peaceful for too long. Only a few days after being accepted into their community, Sanya finds herself witnessing a fight between her father and the hero, and according to Gersas, this all started because of a rather stupid reason. Apparently, the old man had come here to thank Noel for saving his beloved daughter. However, while they were discussing things, our protagonist accidentally shared that Sanya loved working for him. This gave the old warrior the wrong idea, and he became convinced that our protagonist was a manipulative jerk who had been making his daughter work for him for free. That's exactly why the old man asked Noel to come outside and deal with him in order to settle the bad blood that had developed seemingly for no reason between the two of them. That's kind of how these two began fighting, and now things are only getting out of hand. However, the hero soon settles things by breaking General Gusher's sword with a single strike before he can even see what's going on. Needless to say, the leader of the country's armed forces is beyond impressed with our boy, and he is certain that this young man will keep his daughter safe. While he's trying his best to recruit Noel into his army, Sanya starts bringing food to the table, and that's when the old man learns that the hero isn't just a great fighter, but also an insanely talented chef. He can't believe how delicious vegetables taste in this area, and his daughter explains that it's all thanks to Aqua, whose presence makes the water taste better. She then asks her father to try a meat pie, which she had learned from her mother years ago. Apparently, she wanted her dad to taste this on his birthday, but Gusher was always busy and never came home to celebrate it. Sanya says that she understands how busy her father has always been, but it doesn't stop her from missing him. Noel tells her that it's okay to miss your family, and that her father should be trying to balance his professional life with his personal one, because a father should always try to spend time with his children. He's not wrong, and the old man knows it as well, so he apologizes to Sonia for not giving her the attention she truly deserved. He thanks her for cooking such a delicious meat pie and asks her to cook it every day, since he'll be retiring soon and spending most of the time at home with her. However, he says that he is still not confident about leaving the huge responsibility of leading such a talented army in the hands of a guy like Gudal. The old man says that he has been trying to delay his own retirement for a while now, but he can't really stop the Holy Knight anymore. Of course, Gerzis knows that the country will be in dire straits if a corrupt guy like the Holy Knight starts leading its army, but the king wants him to take this responsibility so they can't really do anything about it. This is when Noel decides to tell the general about everything that Gudal has been up to ever since the war ended. It's safe to say that the old man is astonished by how evil the Holy Knight really is. He's also shocked by how the country has treated the real hero. He says that if such evil men are trying to take over the country, he can't really retire just yet. While the men are busy discussing the future of Lavania, Sarah is happy to learn that Sonia has gotten her father's permission to stay in the village. However, the girl says that she was worried for Noel when her father decided to have a duel with him. This is when the demon girl explains that none of them have to worry about the hero because pretty much no one in this kingdom can hurt him. After all, he was the one who took down a Hydra all by himself, so he really is invincible as far as Sarah knows. Later that day, Noel and the general are walking through the village, and Gusher still can't believe that someone has turned a ghost village into a beautiful place like this one. He says that more and more people will surely come back to live with our boy because a great man like him will attract loyal and grateful followers. He has already gathered quite an impressive collection of people around him, and he says that he'll be happy to take in more loners like himself because he knows he can help them. His words make it clear to the general that the hero isn't just wasting his time in a desolate place like this one. He really has a goal, and he's trying his best to fulfill it, and the old man can't help but appreciate it. As the sun begins to set, the boomer general gives Noel a really firm handshake before telling him to take care of his daughter. As he gets ready to leave, he tells Gerzis that despite his young age, the hero is a really special man, and he had a lot of fun meeting him. While our boy is busy living his dream life in his quiet little village, Prince Cain is enjoying his evening tea with Stella, who is clearly head over heels in love with him. Their romantic afternoon, however, gets disturbed when Gudal enters the room with a rather stern look on his face. He is mad that General Gusher has once again stopped his promotion, and he really wants the prince to deal with the old man as soon as possible. Cain explains that they can't simply get rid of the general because he has the admiration of the entire army, and they can't really fire him for no reason. Gudal isn't really happy with this answer, and he once again goes on a tirade, but this time around, Stella tells him to shut his trap and be more respectful towards the prince. She then tells her companion that in order to make Gusher listen to them like a good boy, they will need to use his weakness. As far as she knows, he only has one daughter, so the Saintess tells Gudal to use that daughter to bring the general to his knees. After receiving this rather evil idea from the seemingly sweet Saintess, the Holy Knight sends a group of elite soldiers to Noel's hometown. These men are there to abduct Sonia, but they don't even get to enter the village as the hero and his friends bring them down in a swift ambush. Apparently, a goddess like Aqua can detect the presence of malicious people, and that's how she managed to pinpoint the location of these third-grade intruders. Of course, they want to know what these guys are trying to do, so Gerzis decides to interrogate them. The men aren't really giving any answers, which makes Ina pretty annoyed, and she decides to use an electric spell to make one of them talk. However, one of the intruders recognizes her and just starts telling her who he is, and even asks her if she has also been kidnapped by the crazy people who live in this desolate village. This kind of stupid question makes the sorceress angrier, and she gives the guy one last chance to explain what he was trying to do. The dude happens to be a fanboy and says that he was sent to this place to retrieve the daughter of General Gusher. Sonia tells the guy that she wants to stay in this village, but the man believes that she has been brainwashed by this group of weirdos who have been keeping her away from her family. As soon as Noel hears this, he decides to give the man a chance to explain themselves in a more friendly location. He takes them to his home and asks them the real purpose of their mission. The guy leading the intruders explains that he had heard that Sonia was brainwashed by some people and was forced to live in a desolate village. He and his men were ordered by the royal family to rescue her, and that's why they were trying to enter the village. Gerzis knows that Gudal is likely the one behind all of this, and he's worried about more attacks in the future. However, the hero tells him and his other companions not to worry because as long as he's there, no one can hurt them. His confidence immediately puts his friends at ease. Our protagonist is still talking to his friends when all of a sudden two strangers enter his house and they apparently know who he is. Noel of course wants to know who these goons are, and to his surprise, the man standing in front of him is Prince Schwartz from the neighboring kingdom. He says that he has come here just to meet with the real hero, and in order to show his gratitude, he has brought some information that would definitely intrigue our boy. He then proceeds to tell everyone how Gudal sent these intruders to kidnap Sonia and force her father to retire from his position. Now, Noel already suspected that the Holy Knight was behind all of this, but he is still grateful to the prince for confirming his theory. However, he can't believe that such a high-ranking noble from a neighboring kingdom would come to a place like this just to meet with him. It would be a total waste of time and a stupid decision, but our protagonist has failed to realize that Schwartz is more rabid than a K-pop fan, and he would go anywhere as long as he gets a chance to meet with our boy. However, he has not just come here to have a chat with Noel. He really wants the hero to come to his kingdom where our protagonist can receive all the respect and rewards that he deserves for defeating an enemy like the Demon Lord. Schwartz is even talking about making our boy a duke, which is really tempting, and everyone in the room thinks that Noel should probably take up this offer. The hero, however, respectfully declines by telling his fan that he is more than content living a simple life in a small and quiet place like this one, and he doesn't really want any attention or reward for his actions. Once again, his humble nature surprises his friends as well as Prince Schwartz, but he isn't the only one who has come here with a proposition. His companion Mirage happens to be the queen of the Holy Nation, which makes her the leader of the church, and right now, she plans to conquer Livonia. As soon as Aina makes this claim, everyone in the room gets tense, and Noel asks her what she even means by conquering Livonia. The Holy Queen begins to explain that she plans to replace the royal family because they have sinned by taking away the glory from a divine hero. She knows that they have become corrupt and she plans to take them out. Now her reasoning is sound because despite winning the war, the people of this kingdom are suffering from poverty and hunger. Meanwhile, the royal family is spending an insane amount of money on constructing a villa for Kane and Stella. The royal family is even increasing the taxes on the already starving population to pay for all their expenses. Usually this would result in a revolution, but people are scared to go up against the prince, who as far as they know has defeated the Demon Lord. She believes that the crops are failing all over the country because the kingdom has lost the blessing of the goddess, and it's all due to the sins committed by the family running this land. She says that she has a plan to replace the royal family in a civil way, but she will need Noel's help to achieve her goal. The hero says that he agrees with their plan, but he simply won't take any part in it because he doesn't want to leave this village. Of course, Schwartz and Mirage don't understand why our boy is so hell-bent on staying in the middle of nowhere. However, they soon learn that this place can be quite lively as our protagonist serves them some delicious food. The royal guests are amazed by the quality of the produce in this place, and they are even amazed that Noel can accept a demon into his home, even though he has spent most of his life fighting against them. While all of them are busy enjoying their meal, Aina informs our protagonist that the intruders are leaving and they have promised to tell the entire kingdom about all the good things of this little village. Watching all of this from their seats, Schwartz and Mirage soon realize why the hero doesn't want to leave this little piece of heaven. They have figured out that our boy is tired of fighting and he is open to accepting people from all parts of the world as long as they are happy to share this heaven with him. He's also trying to create a safe place for all the outsiders like him by rebuilding this village, which is admirable as well as pretty emotional. The Holy Queen can't help but admire him for being so upstanding, but she still thinks that he should try to save this kingdom from the people who are too greedy to run it fairly. While the royal guests are busy making observations, Sarah tells the hero that she would love to fight alongside him if he ever wants to take part in another war. While Noel appreciates the sentiment, he tells her that he doesn't want to fight anymore, and right now his only plan is to rebuild this village and protect it with his life. This answer brings a huge smile to the demon girl's face, and she tells him to just stay with him for as long as she's alive. While this heartfelt comment goes over our boy's head, Sarah's face becomes red with embarrassment once she realizes what she just said. Later that night, Gerzes tells the hero that their guests have departed because they are on a schedule and they need to make preparations to overthrow the current royal family. He also informs everyone that Gusher will soon retire from his position because he doesn't want anyone to target his daughter ever again. The old man has also given up on the royal family and he doesn't want to stop the Holy Queen from bringing some justice to this land. Noel, however, isn't interested in any of this, and he tells them that no matter what happens, they are all going to stay here and keep trying to make this the place the greatest village in the entire world. The next morning, Noel is selling some vegetables and a wild boar that Sarah hunted to a merchant, and he receives 5,000 gold coins for all of this. Of course, he's over the moon, and his companions are also amazed when they realize how much money they can make by selling their produce. Aqua is quick to ask our protagonist what he plans to do with all of this wealth, and unsurprisingly, the hero isn't exactly planning to use this money to gamble or to go out. In fact, he wants to buy more seeds for future crops because he knows that their population will grow, and he wants to ensure that he can feed all the people who will surely come to their village after they hear about its prosperity. While they are discussing this, Sonia gets there with some tea made from a strange herb that apparently causes hallucinations and can be sold at a higher price. They are all discussing what they're going to buy once they have enough money to splurge, but Sarah looks a little concerned. She tells the hero that she has found a strange place near the village, and she takes them there to show how poisonous miasma is oozing out of the ground in that area. Aina is also tagging along with them, and she knows that they have to deal with this poison immediately, so she uses a spell to purify the entire place in a single swoop. As soon as her spell finishes its job, the place looks much different now that it's not covered in poison. They are happy that they managed to secure the surrounding woods, even more by taking care of this menacing miasma. However, their happiness goes up a notch when they find the special herb that's supposed to cause hallucinations. Sarah is quick to pick it up, but it loses its freshness the moment she snaps it from the ground. It's a really expensive plant, and Noel doesn't want it to lose its potency, so he asks Aina to keep it fresh somehow. This is when the sorceress uses time freeze magic to stop the plant from going bad. She says that with the help of her spells, they can keep this particular herb fresh for a while. Now that they have time, they decide to look around the area since they might find more of those plants. However, Aina just falls down to her knees and says she can't really walk anymore since she has lost all her mana. Noel immediately feels bad about pushing her to use so much magic, and he asks her to rest for a while. While he's gone to bring water for the sorceress, she tells Sarah that the hero can use all the spells that she's been using so far and he really doesn't need her, but he always asks her to perform magic, and this makes her happy. She says that it's part of his nature to let other people do their share of the work, and that's probably why he managed to defeat the Demon King. She says that he probably didn't want to get involved with the Holy Queen because he trusts her and other people from this country to take care of the rotten eggs all by themselves. However, she also thinks that Noel might be staying away from conflict because he just doesn't want his precious companions to once again put their lives in danger, and this sentiment makes Sarah really flustered. She's trying to hide her embarrassment when the hero returns to join the two of them in their hunt for more of those special herbs. That afternoon, the goddess treats herself by deep frying those herbs and also shares this special meal with her other companions. Surprisingly, the plant is incredible and Noel really hopes to find a way to grow it. However, Sonia has heard that you can only grow these herbs if you have access to a lot of clean spring water. Usually, this would have been impossible, but they have the Earth Goddess who can produce water at will, so the hero asks her to find a way to farm this herb. A couple of days later, Gerzas comes back to tell our protagonist that he is going to be part of the rebellion army. He says that he only agreed to join after General Gusher promised to lead the uprising against the royal family. Apparently, the old man agreed to lead the army after he realized that his daughter would be safe as long as she stayed with the hero. He, of course, has his own reasons to fight against the king, and luckily his army will be supported by the church. However, Gerzas says that they don't know if the royal mages will support them since they are very tight-lipped about these things. Aina hears all of this and she says that she can go back to the capital and find out which side the royal mages are going to support. Noel reminds her that she is not obliged to help anyone and he can't really lose her in a meaningless war. However, the sorceress really wants to help and she promises to come back as soon as she has obtained the necessary information. While she is going to do some spy work, the hero decides to collect as much produce as he can and hand it all to Gerzas, who can definitely use this for the upcoming campaign. The rebellion army has paid our boy handsomely, but he's been buying essential tools and equipment, and right now he doesn't really have any savings left. He is starting to realize that he's very poor at managing his finances, so he needs an accountant, but none of his friends are trained in this field, so they can't really help him. However, just then, a girl named Lilia shows up there and says that she can manage Noel's finances for him since she is a trained accountant. She is Prince Schwartz's sister, and her brother sent her to help the hero run this village. Apparently, the prince wants to keep good relations with the mighty hero, and that's why he has chosen none other than his own sister to stay in this village. Our boy is in no condition to refuse help, so he shows Lilia all the receipts and the remaining funds. She says that she can create a record of all of this in an hour, which seems impossible to someone like our protagonist, and he tells her to work slowly since they aren't really a big company. To his surprise, the princess keeps her word and manages to create, or rather smart, magical cash books to keep a record of Noel's finances. The book will also tell our boy useful stuff like food prices and the future demand for certain products, which can help him stay ahead of the market and sell at exactly the right time. Clearly, the village will get much richer if the hero decides to employ this young girl, and he is starting to realize that fact right about now. Things are changing quickly around the village, and only a couple of days later Aqua creates a hot water bath with the help of our boy. This proves to be really popular with the girls who are amazed by its healing properties. The goddess explains that hot water from a spring can keep you healthy as well as help you recover from tiredness. Lilia hears all of this and realizes that they can turn this into a tourist attraction, but that won't happen anytime soon since there aren't any tourists in this area. While the new accountant is busy washing Aqua's back, Sonia tells Sarah what she heard the other day. Apparently, Gerzes is suspicious of Schwartz because it's clear that the prince is trying to get close to the hero who is quite literally the strongest person in the entire world. With his power, he can change the course of history, and it won't be surprising for a prince to have ulterior motives behind sending his sister to aid this hero. She also heard about the ridiculous biography published by the royal family, which includes all the things that Prince Cain has done ever since he began fighting the Demon King. Of course, it's all fake because the guy is a weakling, and he can't even run 100 feet, let alone beat the evil monarch. Still, the entire population of the country was forced to buy that biography to spread the propaganda. When Sonia has shared all that she has heard so far, she says that she is worried about Noel's safety because he will be going to the market with only Lilia by his side. While Sarah believes that the hero will be safe because no one can really hurt him, his friend isn't so sure about sending our protagonist alone with a suspicious girl. So she says that she will also go to the market with the two of them. It's clear that she is the one who has interior motives, but it turns out Lilia also wanted her to come since the young princess loves her company. The two of them are walking through the busy streets of the market when a group of thugs asks them to give up 110 gold coins. They're calling it a tax, and the princess is in no mood to pay it. When the leader of these criminals tries to threaten them, Lilia tells Sonia to ask for help. The girl doesn't waste any time before screaming, and in a flash all the thugs have been floored by Noel, who gets there to save the day. The princess is of course overjoyed to see the hero in action, but she has to leave the two of them behind because her brother has sent a special pigeon for her. While she's receiving the message, the hero asks Sonia to stop suspecting Lilia since they don't have to worry about her. His companion, of course, can't believe how he can trust people so easily, even though he's been betrayed so many times. She says that ever since the prince abandoned her, she can't really trust people. This is when Noel tells her that you can't make strong connections with people if you don't trust them, so they'll have to trust each other if they want to make their small village special for everyone. His words are pretty genuine and his tone is polite, and this brings tears to Sonia's eyes, who asks him why he's so caring towards her. The hero answers by reminding her that she is the daughter of the leader of the rebellion army, and she will become a target for the royal family, so he will have to protect her. The two of them are talking about this when Lilia joins them once again, and this time around she has some really bad news. Without any warning, she tells them that the rebellion army has lost. However, according to her, the uprising hasn't been crushed because General Gusher is still safe and they can always launch another offensive. She also goes on to explain that this particular battle was lost simply because they failed to realize how strong Gudal is. His strength was on full display as he slaughtered dozens upon dozens of soldiers all by himself and crushed the rebellion army. Noel is listening to all of this intently when Lilia says that her brother needs something from him. Our boy is of course worried that he'll be asked to join the battle, but apparently the prince only wants our protagonist to deliver the vegetables to the front in person. Normally he would have declined such an offer, but he knows about the recent defeat and he wants to meet Schwartz, so he agrees to go. While our boy is bringing some supplies to the front like a good merchant, Gudal is basking in the glory of his recent victory. Prince Cain comes there to congratulate him with his fiancée Stella, but the Holy Knight is in a bad mood. He is mad because the royal mages haven't really helped him at all in this battle, even though the prince keeps saying that they will join him soon. He is starting to realize that the royal family is losing control over its subjects, and yet the prince is hopeful, and he still wants a total victory in this war. In order to reward Gudal for this magnificent victory, he has brought the royal family's special sword, which apparently has the spirit of an evil god inside it. According to the legends, the god will get reincarnated if the sword is stained with blood, so the Holy Knight is hesitant to use it, but Stella tells him to use the evil god for his advantage and remove the rebellion army with the help of this sword. This gives Gudal a huge boost in morale, and things are only getting better for the royal army. Gusher learns that his forces will soon be surrounded by the royal knights on one side and the court mages on the other flank, which means they have to find a way to deal with this double threat. To make matters worse, they don't have their lead tactician Schwartz on the front, so they don't even know what to do anymore. Gerzes is starting to believe that the prince has abandoned their army and he is fearing the worst. While the rebellion forces are getting ready to defend against a serious attack, Gudal is quickly moving his royal knights into the position to launch the assault. However, this is when he accidentally runs into none other than his former companion. He simply can't believe his eyes as he sees Noel sitting in a wagon only a few yards in front of him. As far as the Holy Knight knew, the hero was dead, so he is simply not prepared to fight the strongest warrior in the land at the moment. Luckily for him, it turns out our protagonist simply has no interest in fighting him, and he says that he is just there to deliver crops to the rebellion army. Goodall, of course, doesn't understand why this dude is not angry at him or his companions for betraying him. He says that he'll buy those vegetables at 10 times the price, so Noel should just leave them here and go back home with a ton of money. Our boy is intrigued and says that he will sell them the supplies if the Holy Knight gives him something precious in return. He's of course talking about that strange sword around Goodall's waist, but his former companion thinks that Noel is talking about eliminating him. His body immediately starts trembling with fear because he knows he can never defeat our protagonist in a head-on battle, and if the hero decides to fight, he will definitely end up dead along with all his men. As soon as this realization hits him, he turns around his horse and starts going back after ordering his men to continue marching towards the front. The hero can't believe that Goodall would abandon all his men for the sake of a sword. He clearly doesn't know how threatening he can be, and now he's wondering what to do about the enemy soldiers who have surrounded his wagon. While all of this is going down, the court mages arrive at the battlefield and they aren't too happy about getting ordered to join this war. While they want to go home, they also don't want to disobey a royal decree, so they decide to quickly finish this fight so they can return to the research. However, Aina tells them that they don't really have to get involved if they don't want to. This surprises her fellow mages, who don't understand how they can refuse a direct order from the king. They also start making fun of her for being so weak that she can't handle the pressure of becoming a royal mage. They're calling her a fraud who entered the hero's party because Prince Cain allowed her to get in without any qualification. This is of course too much for someone like Aina, who has worked her butt off to get to where she is today. So she decides to teach these second-grade magicians what it means to be a member of the hero's party. She immediately creates a huge magic circle and tells her fellow mages that they won't be joining the battle anytime soon. Meanwhile, Schwartz finally manages to get to the battlefield where Gusher is mad at him for running off on his own. Luckily, the prince has brought some good news. He says that they can crush the royal army right now if they charge it with all their forces. Gerzus doesn't understand this madness because as far as he knows, they are the ones who will get attacked on two different sides. However, Schwartz knows that Noel has already dealt with Goodall and his cavalry. He has never seen someone take down multiple battalions of trained soldiers all by himself, so he starts praising his hero without any kind of shame. However, he stops rambling like a madman when a huge explosion rocks the camp. Gusher learns that the explosion took place inside the camp of royal mages, which means now they won't have to worry about the magicians either. This gives the general a free hand to launch a massive assault, and he orders his men to keep marching until they reach the royal palace. While his army is getting annihilated by the rebel forces, Goodall is trying to find a place where the hero can't find him. He eventually comes across a small village and decides to stay there for the night, but just then, someone shoots down a wild boar right next to him. He looks around to see that the animal was shot down by his former slave Sarah, who is also supposed to be dead. This is when the Holy Knight begins to piece these things together and realizes that Noel was the one who removed her collar. This also means that right now Goodall is standing near the hero's home. At first, he is scared because he wants nothing to do with our protagonist, but then he decides to take one of Noel's friends hostage and turn this small village into his new stronghold. Sarah, of course, tries to take him out before he causes any problems, but Goodall manages to defend against her arrows by just swinging his new sword. Clearly, he is much stronger than her, and she will die if she doesn't get out of there, but she is out of luck. Sonya gets there to see what's going on and gets captured by the Holy Knight, who plans to slice her throat just for fun. However, just before he can commit such a horrible crime, a magician shows up there and tries to attack Goodall. The Holy Knight is pretty quick, and he stops her before she gets anywhere near him. However, this turns out to be a mistake because the magician was planning to get stabbed by the sword from the beginning. She knows that the evil god will get reincarnated as soon as the unsealing ritual is completed. She has always been jealous of Goodall, and this is her way of getting back at him. The Holy Knight, however, is pretty confused because he doesn't know what's going on. This confusion soon turns into pure terror as a horrifying beast appears in front of him and starts licking his face. By this point, Goodall realizes that he will get eaten pretty soon and he simply isn't ready to die just yet. However, it turns out bad guys like him don't get a choice, and the evil god swallows him up without giving him even a chance to say his final words. The country is already at war and things are not too great, but this is a disaster on a biblical scale. People can see the dark aura of the evil god from miles and miles away, and Mirage can feel his presence all the way into the capital. From her experience, she knows that this enemy is even stronger than the Demon Lord, which means they are pretty much doomed no matter what they do. Right now, her priority is to keep this monster in a single location so that it doesn't go on a rampage. She knows that at this moment, she can only ask the Supreme Goddess for help, and the goddess assures her that someone is already there to take care of this threat. Back near the village, Sarah and Sonya are just staring in horror as the monster keeps growing bigger and bigger. They are so scared that they can't even move from their place, and they are certain that they won't make it out alive from this. However, just then they hear the voice of someone they've been waiting for all this time. Noel apologizes for getting there so late, and he doesn't really seem threatened by the evil god at all. His companions soon learn the reason behind his confidence as he cuts down the monster with a single swing of his sword. The girls can't even believe their eyes, but they are glad that they have someone like Noel by their side to save them. He brings the both of them back to the village where Aqua is once again starting to feel better now that the evil aura is gone. Meanwhile, back in the capital, things are going well for the rebellion forces, but they are witnessing bloodshed on a completely different level. Still, they manage to get inside the throne room and ask the king to abdicate before it's too late. Eventually, the king steps down, and the old general tells his men that their country has been liberated once again. After this victory, Noel and Sarah visit the capital where people are waiting for the royal family to confess their sins. He has also been asked by Mirage to accompany her as she announces the punishment to Stella for her involvement in all of this. The Saintess is of course mad because she has been imprisoned inside her own house. She can't believe that people would rebel against her, but the Holy Queen explains that when you live in luxury while people are suffering, this is going to happen one day or the other. She says that she is going to announce the punishment that Stella will receive for lying about the hero's identity. The Saintess tries to make a case for herself, but the Holy Queen is in no mood for mercy, so she removes the title of a Saintess from her and then sentences her to a lifetime of imprisonment for her actions. Stella begs her former companion to help her because she's going to be a mother and her life will be a living hell if she is imprisoned. The hero makes it clear that he can't interfere with the matters of the church. However, he says that his former companion can choose to live in his small village for the rest of her life as a punishment. Now, this is a great offer, but Stella is accustomed to living in luxury, so she refuses to stay in the middle of nowhere. Mirage makes it clear to her that she will never come across Cain again because he will spend the rest of his life working in a mine where more sinners have been sent. Instead, Stella will spend her remaining days raising her child in a monastery, which if you ask me is much worse than living in a beautiful village that's run by a guy like Noel. While it was rather easy to punish the prince and his fiancée for their crimes, it is getting really hard to prove that the king actually did anything wrong. In the court, he testifies that all the heavy taxation and the propagation of lies about the hero were ordered by his chief advisor, who has now vanished, which means no one can prove that the king was actually involved in any of it. Right now, the only person accusing him is Aina, who saw his signature on a piece of paper that ordered someone to assassinate the hero as soon as the Demon King was dead. However, they can't really access the document anymore because it is encrypted with really strong magic, and no sorcerer inside the royal palace thinks that they can access it. If things keep going on like this, the king will go free, which will definitely undermine the rebellion. Schwartz and his sister are trying to come up with a way to access that royal decree when a magician stumbles into the courtroom and ends up falling on her face. She's a clumsy girl who claims to be an investigating officer from the Holy Kingdom. She explains that the royal family was indirectly responsible for the resurrection of the evil god who could have destroyed the entire country. The hero was there to stop him, but this only goes to show how reckless the royal family can be. Still, even this evidence isn't enough to send the king to the gallows. They need someone to crack the encryption on that royal decree, but according to all the mages inside the royal palace, no one can do it even if they had a decade. Well, it turns out Noel only needed a few minutes to open this code, and he has come to the royal palace to show just what exactly he found after decrypting that document. Everyone, including the former king, is shocked by all of this, but this document definitely proves that the king ordered Noel's assassination, and for that crime, the Holy Queen wants to send him to hell. Now that the corrupt king has been dealt with, the hero slowly starts losing his companions one by one. The palace is facing a serious shortage of talented sorcerers, so Aina has been asked to join the royal mages once again. She doesn't really want to leave Noel behind, but he wants her to become the head of these mages, and she wants to fulfill his wishes, so she decides to go. Sonya also has to leave because she has to take care of her father, who has finally decided to get some rest. Aqua is feeling especially sad about letting her go because the two of them have been really close. Noel reminds the goddess that their friends aren't just going away forever, and they can always meet up and check on each other whenever they feel lonely. That's exactly why he tells Sonya not to hesitate and visit them whenever she wants to see them. His words once again bring tears to her eyes, but she's also feeling really happy because now she knows that she's always welcome in his life. While these two are leaving, the village is also receiving some new people. For instance, the detective from the Holy Kingdom says that she has been sent here to work as a representative of the church in this place. Her name is Cynthia, and she asks the hero to take care of her just like any of his friends. While our boy is happy to have more people in his quiet little village, he is hesitant to let this member of the church stay among them. You see, the church is completely against the idea of letting demons live with humans. This means as long as Cynthia stays in this place, she won't accept Sarah. In fact, she wants the hero to exile this demon girl as soon as possible in order to comply with the church regulations. Noel, of course, gets mad at this suggestion and tells this holy detective to stop ordering his friends around. He says that anyone can stay in this village as long as they're happy to help out, so the church should stay out of it. Now, most people would not want to argue with the divine hero, but Cynthia is clearly not like most people. She immediately starts saying that, according to her observations, the divine hero has been corrupted by the demon girl who has seduced him with her charms. By this point, she is starting to get on Noel's nerves, and he once again makes it clear that he won't exile anyone just because the church doesn't accept them. He tells this special holy detective to go back to her kingdom and tell Queen Mirage that the church officials aren't welcome in his village if they are going to persecute other residents. His tone makes it clear to Cynthia that our boy isn't going to budge, so she says that she would not go back. Instead, she will stay here for as long as she has to because she truly believes that only she can save the souls of the people here who have been corrupted by this demon girl. While this philosophical debate is raging on, a strange evil begins to wake up in a nearby cave, all the while covering this entire area around the cave in a dark and suffocating aura. A few days later, Noel is fishing in a nearby lake with Gerzaz, and he tells his friend about the new representative from the Holy Church. The warrior is beginning to understand just how hard it is to maintain peace in a small village when all your companions are hot-headed outcasts. However, he isn't here today to talk about Noel's new companion. He has come to the village in order to convey a message from General Gusher, according to which pretty soon the country will reward our protagonist for all that he has done to maintain peace in the kingdom. They have decided to not only give him a new title, but they also plan to give him dominion over the land around his small village, where he can do whatever he wants. Of course, the hero doesn't really care about getting any kind of reward for his efforts, but Gerzaz believes that they have to do this in order to set a good example. The new government is still trying to justify the rebellion, which will require them to establish their legitimacy among the neighboring nations. Rewarding Noel is another one of their strategies to make people realize that they are actually doing something good. At first, they were planning on throwing outlandish parties and celebrations, but they knew the hero would never even visit the capital if they tried to waste money on meaningless ceremonies. So now they have just decided to reward him in a humble ceremony. Lilia happens to overhear this conversation, and she quickly chimes in by saying that she would happily discuss the terms of the reward with General Gusher. She plans to get a lot of money for the hero, which he can then spend on his village to make sure that its residents can prosper for 100 years. While this is a tempting strategy, Noel says that he doesn't really want any money from the new government. Instead, he wants the old general to spend that reward money on rebuilding the kingdom. He also says that he doesn't really want any acknowledgement, and he would be happy if people don't really find out that he is still alive. Clearly, my man doesn't really want any more attention, so he's trying his best to stay out of the spotlight. In order to honor his wishes, Lilia says that he can refuse to accept all the financial rewards, but he should definitely accept the titles and privileges that come with becoming a lord of a territory. This will help him keep the residents of his small village safe from outside threats. It will also allow him to do whatever he wants in his territory without any interference from the government or other stakeholders. Noel is beginning to agree with her, but he is still not sure about allowing the church to operate in his hometown. Before he can build a church, he wants to know what Cynthia is exactly planning to do here, since he still doesn't trust her. His suspicion is not without merit, because the investigator of the Holy Church has a habit of doing some shady stuff. In fact, at this very moment, she is standing outside the same creepy cave, and Sarah is quick to ask her, what in the world is she doing here? The demon girl says that she has been following Cynthia to find out why a church official is venturing so deep into the woods, and she is starting to realize that she made the right decision. The church investigator says that neither Noel nor his friends really understand how important this land really is. However, she also makes it clear that she won't spill the beans, which means Sarah will have to use force to make her cough up the truth. That's exactly why the demon girl brings out her bow and arrow. But to her surprise, Cynthia is also carrying a gun, and she cocks it to make her intentions clear. Their standoff, however, gets interrupted when they hear the roar of a monster coming from inside the cave. They both have to act quickly, so they immediately climb a nearby tree to stay away from this scary-looking monster that's now looking for them. While the two of them are safe inside the trees, clearly this creature will wreak havoc inside the village if it's not stopped. As soon as Cynthia points out this problem, Sarah decides to take action, and she jumps down from the tree to deal with this menace. And this is how this segment of the manga ends. Unfortunately, there aren't enough chapters to continue, but if you're looking for another fascinating tale, check out our best recommendation right here.